Just realized. All right, we're gonna rock and roll here. Hopefully we got some service. I got a new pal. You can see the top of his head there. If you're following me on Facebook, you might have seen pictures of him. All right, setting up the microphones. Hey everybody, good morning from the wild side. And I got lots of animals on the wild side once again. And feels good. Except that once again, I'm pretty tied down. And that was the original reason for downsizing to begin with. But that being said, okay, the audio should be excellent now. Please let me know, anybody, if there's problems, or actually let me know if you can hear me really well. Hey Chris, morning. Morning Jack from Laos, awesome. I really got to change this backdrop. I happen to be sitting where all my junk is sitting. This is garbage that I got to take to the dump. 2 of those are empty, 2 of them are garbage. And this is just random stuff that I kind of need. And then my truck and trailer. But I'm out here because this is where I've got service, pretty reliable service. But I'm going to turn around. And also, right behind me is my pen. There we go. This dog, he's another Great Pyrenees like I had before. And he is absolutely starving for attention. Aren't you, boy? Aren't you starving for attention? He's hardly ever been in a vehicle, and yet he went and climbed in my van one day and laid down and just stayed there. I imagine because he could smell me. He's really affectionate, and he's a good boy. He lives alone with the sheep, so I don't think you can see it, but there's 21 sheep, well, 2 goats and 19 sheep in there. And the cool thing is, I kept him in this pen. It's almost a half acre. I kept him in there for a few days when I brought him over to give them a sense that, hey, this is your new home and a center for where they know they're safe. And so now I let him out, and let's see, what time is it? 7 o'clock. So I let him out right after 5 this morning. And so they eat for about hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, and then they go on back into the pen. So then I put him back in the pen when they're in there and lock it. And then 3 out, well, actually, no, I don't time it. Then when they get up, so they lay down in the shade and chew their cud, let their rumen function. But then when I see them start getting up and eating on the bushes and the grass, well, then I let them out again. And so far, it's a great system. The trouble is you got to be here all the time for it, or you can only leave for a few hours, which is a problem today because it's Father's Day. So I'm gonna go hang out with my brother, and so they might have to stay in the pen for 5 or 6 hours, but also they've got food in the pen, so it's not like they're starved if I have to leave them. So far it's a fairly decent system, but once again, I'm at a point where I can't go overnight, except that the owner can come over and take care of them, but I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to try it soon. So anyway, that's what's new around here. I got out of animals because I wanted to travel and do comedy. Well, not just comedy, but I want to be able to go do camping trips. And as you know, my dog's got extra old this past year, and so now even camping trips for that is a challenge again. But I also got to thinking about how rewarding it is there's something really pleasing about just being home and taking care of animals. and taking care of your property. I've kind of neglected this property for a couple years, which is okay because my goal here was to have it wild, but there are a lot of weeds that need to be taken down. Like they're just not good and they take over. I'm not an anti-weed guy. Like there's a lot of them that I like, but these are just dumb ones. And so anyway, I've been neglecting it, but over that couple of years, I got to really see, okay, what do I want? What do I like? Because most of my life I didn't live that way, and that's why I'm doing it now, late in life. So anyway, that's the latest. It's nice to have animals back. I got these 2 baby sheep that are just the cutest things in the world. And then we got a cow running around here too. It's a Jersey cow with a bad ankle. I guess you'd call it an ankle. But she gets around, she's not in pain. And so she goes in with the sheep most of the time, but they run off and leave her. So she's out here somewhere. She's made friends with the neighbor cows over there. So that's really nice because the poor cow is pretty lonely. She's the only one. And then I also got 2 more horses here. And they're out wandering around. So it's fun, but like I say, I'm trying to be careful. It's at this point, it's only temporary because in September I'm planning to take off no matter what. So I can't get too attached to these guys in spite of how great this dog is. He's constantly like that. Aren't you? Yeah, so I got to get back up into the mountains to take to do another video. I was gonna go when it's really hot, but that's when I got the animals, as well as something else came up, and now my truck has a flat tire, and I don't have money for tires. I'm waiting for the right used. I always buy used sets. Man, if you're paying full price for tires and you're broke, I highly recommend. Looks like one of my wheels is canted. Maybe it's just because the other one's flat, but it looks like it's at an angle, and I hope that's not a bad thing. I don't have money for vehicle repairs, but I also don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell. So anyway, if you're paying full price for tires, I encourage you to check out Marketplace before you do. I get whole sets of tires for $200. They're not brand new tread, but and that's that's mounted for a truck. So then I run them for a few years, and anyway, it's worked great for me. Knew another guy that I met that does the same thing. I try to have a backup set so that I don't have to wait around, but my backup set is lost. I have no idea where it is. So anyway, that's what's going on here. It's cooled off. It got really hot there for a while, like up to 100, high 90s at least. And I got to 100 in town, that's for sure, or over. But now it's cooled off again. It was downright cold this morning, walking around barefoot. I had to walk up there and get my heavy whipping cream, and there was dew on the grass, the tall grass I was walking through, and about froze my feet. So that's nice. I built a fire and sat next to it and had my coffee. And unfortunately, I can't be sitting there while doing the live stream, but it's been a nice morning, nice that it's cooled off. Yesterday wasn't too hot. Today's supposed to be a little hotter, but I was able to do stuff most of the day. So I'm going to take these sheep, I'm going to set up a pen over here and have them eat it down where I want it cleared out. And but they all went into the pen earlier. They're out here, and it's funny how suddenly 21, well, call it 20 sheep seem like nothing when you look at all this property needing to be eaten down. So between the 4 horses, the 1 cow, and the 20 sheep, maybe I'll get my place eaten down. We'll see. I'd like to have a lot of it eaten down. And the sheep, they eat down weeds that I don't want, some of them, so that's good. So Yep. Yeah, it's tough figuring out how to balance life when you're single. If I was married, that's what married guys are all able to leave their animals at home and go out and do stuff. But then they're also tied down to a job. So that's not a complaint. It's just the dilemma that I face. And oh, and there's the rooster. For some reason, he's in there. Hey, good morning, Stanley. All right, what to talk about? Well, I just listened to this really good video on how the Fed got started. The Fed implementing the bank monopoly, which took and then resulted in taking our money off of the gold standard into what I guess is called fiat currency. Man, it's fascinating. It really explained how all of the wars and all of the inflation are all part of the process to keep them getting rich. And I don't think it's bogus conspiracy information. I think it's just an explanation as to how it works. I got to make my Wealth of Nations video. I've been putting it off forever, and I'm going to put that on my Over on the Creekside channel. So I'll post about it on this channel, but I'm going to post it on the Over on the Creekside channel. Pretty soon I'm going to start doing videos over there, just talking about ideas. That way I can leave this channel separate to just about my lifestyle and camping videos, and then that one for all the stuff that loses followers. Like all of a sudden my view count dropped when I said capitalism. So I don't know how accurate it is. I think it drags, it delays a lot, so it may not even be it may not even be connected. So anyway, sitting on a bucket here, and gosh, I'll think of something to talk about. If anybody has any questions or comments, I guess it would be timely. What's the matter, dog? But there we go. I guess I could talk about, there's an Old West movie, not an Old West, there's a Western movie, The Unholy Trinity, I think is what it's called. I plan to go see that this week, and hopefully it's decent. That's as much as I expect from Hollywood. Decent meaning not too... my biggest offense is when they take modern ideologies and implement it in the Old West. And so that's what I'm really hoping they didn't do. And I think that Hollywood is picking up on the fact that that stuff isn't selling. So we'll see. But it got a movie release, and it seems like the only thing, or theater release, it seems like the only thing getting theater releases are all the agenda-driven movies. So we'll see. But looking forward to it. I love going to movies. I hope that, well, I shouldn't say that. I was about to say that I hope the trend, it becomes popular to go to movie houses again. But then I realize how much I hate it when things that I like doing become trendy. Like I didn't like it about the comedy scene, how I got into comedy right when it was getting really trendy. I hate that because I don't like, it creates a bad vibe. All the people who do it just because, well, this is what we do because that's what is popular. And which makes me really sound like a hipster. But when I did Johnny Cash music in Seattle, that was when I first really started to realize it, because it was before Hurt came out, so Johnny Cash wasn't the icon that he is now. And he wasn't yet the icon that he became right after he came out with the Hurt song. So I was doing Johnny Cash country music in Seattle at the peak time that Seattle hated country music. And I loved it. But then Johnny Cash came out with Hurt, and then the movie came out, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out. All of that stuff started to make that old time music more popular. That's when the Nashville Craps started putting a banjo in every song they made. They even redid songs to add banjos in. And so I kind of quit doing music. It just annoyed me. So anyway, it'd be nice if movie houses were popular enough that they could stay in business, but not become so popular that it's a bunch of fanboys. So not sure if you're into that, but Kevin Smith owns an old theater. He has the theater that, well, I guess I thought there was some significance to it. He owns an old theater. I think the one that he used to go to as a kid. And he talks about how difficult it is to get people to go out to movies. So if you're Kevin Smith, I mean, he's a fairly famous person, and even he can't get people to come to his theater, then you know it's kind of a bad time for movie theaters. But comedy is still going strong, and popular music, so live theater seems like it's a thing. I really love old theaters. I wanted to build one here, but my county is way too restrictive, and I don't want to get caught up in that. I would just end up being a slave to a business. But I hope to one day build an Old West theater and saloon. I just don't know where or when. So anyway, here we go. Every time I pet my dogs, I'm looking for ticks. They got tons of ticks, which is the main reason to have tons of roosters. Because back when I had, not roosters, chickens. Back when I had chickens, I was always amazed at how few ticks we had. And now that I don't have chickens, the first couple years I was like, man, the ticks are really bad this year. Finally I pieced it together that, oh, my chickens must have been keeping the numbers down. Let's see, we got some more. Craig Curtis, you're always wanting to make things political. Craig Curtis says there's no protesters out there. Not here, but there are a couple 100 miles to the west, over in Seattle, naturally. There's so much proof that that those protests, the riot part of the protest, were instigated by somebody with a lot of money. And that's probably not getting wide coverage, but there is a lot of proof for it. Like there's Craigslist ads have been seen. People have been interviewed. Like there's guys with clipboards that are recruiting, and they're sharing how much money they get paid, like $10 a person that they recruit. And then the people recruited make X amount of dollars. I don't know how much. I think one of them that I saw was an ad that was doctored, like it said $1,000 a day. It just seemed really fake. But I did see one that was more reasonable. But if you think about it, you got all these people that don't want to work, young people, and not all young people don't want to work, but there are a lot who don't want to, understandably so. It's a sucky system. And then they're offered money to go act like jackasses in the street. Well, you're going to get a lot of takers. And then get other takers that just enjoy doing it for the fun of it. I lived in Seattle during the WTO riots way back when. I had no idea about them at the time, but we had this guy that lived in our house who was one of those jackasses, and he went down there for free, and he's the type that would just go down there and cause havoc because he enjoys it. I imagine that's kind of the anarchist spirit. If there's any anarchists watching, don't get upset. I get hooked on looking for ticks. It's very addictive. Let's see. So thanks, Craig. Appreciate the comment. Robert Reed, good morning. Craig Curtis says I could start a drive-in movie theater. Ha! Yeah, that's true. There's room for it, but I think that would be even less appealing to people. It's really hard to compete with people can put up a 70-inch TV now for $500 or something, maybe $600. I don't know the prices exactly, but it's super cheap. And then you get a surround sound system for a few $100, and then watch movies on crystal clear sound and audio, video in your home where you can make good popcorn for cheap. Like, that's the other thing about the movies. It sucks. Like, I love popcorn. That popcorn is garbage. Like, the butter, even when I find somebody who butters it properly, like multiple layers, and shake it up, occasionally you find somebody that's happy to do that. It's rare. It was more down in Texas. I don't remember if somebody did it here. And but it still tastes like garbage because the butter is super cheap butter, because it's not even butter, it's oil. So it's like, even if you do pay $12 for popcorn, it's still not even good. So it's like, no wonder nobody wants to go to movie theaters. So yeah, that's why an Old West theater would be a different thing, because then it's like you're going there for the experience of going to an Old West theater, and yeah. So I would like to do one where I do movies whenever, and do comedy, and do music. And I would like to do it here. I thought about doing it here and raising money or something, finding an investor. But like I said, then it would be so overwhelming with the business end, where, like, in Nevada, there are counties that have no restrictions on building. So I could just build up my own buildings however I want to, and then people can come and do it by donation. And that way I'm not running an actual business where all of a sudden you got to bring in health code and all that stuff. The problem is with those counties, they're usually away from a population. Like, if I could get one close enough to Las Vegas or even Reno, then there might be enough people to bring them over. But it sucks. We live in a society that's just really hard to do fun ideas. Everything has to be so much red tape for it that you have to really focus on profits. And then once you focus on profits, that takes away from the experience, because it's what we see now when you go to any town, tourist town, where they give them minimal output and expect big money for it. Like, you go buy a $15 burger and it's a crappy burger. Like, okay, I'm spending $15. It should at least be a good burger. Anyway, looking at you, Goldfield, Arizona. Who's Boone says the best thing about movies was sneaking the flask in. At least that's what I'm told. Yeah, there's a lot of jokes about drunk people in movie theaters. I said one to a heckler. This jackass was at a comedy show, and he enjoys just talking during it. And I told him, "You're at a comedy show. This isn't a movie theater." It was subtle that nobody else got. My brother appreciated it, though. Let's see. Jennifer Harden said, they make a projection TV. Don't know exactly what they're called. Yeah, the projector market is amazing. Incredibly inexpensive. Ride-in movie for horseback only. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. Yep. Not enough horseback people though, but hey, born 100 years too late is here. Hey, Brett. Glad to see you. I got this Great Pyrenees here staying on my property, and he is really desperate for attention. It's easier just to love on him. Yeah, good to see you, Brett. You've been doing some cool stuff. I'm glad to see it. Yeah, he's an excellent dog. This guy is so cool. Except that he barks at birds. So 4:30 a.m. this morning, he was barking at birds. They perch on these 10-foot poles, fence posts that I have. And he's chasing around birds and barking. So I woke up early around here. Earlier than I would like, but I don't mind. I think I finally got out of bed at like 5 to let the sheep out. The Saxon 8 says, I have a 100-inch screen projector in my house. How clear is that? I imagine it's super clear. That's incredible. And I bet it wasn't super expensive. Let's see. Brett, we're talking about ride-in movie theater. Talking about how cool old theaters are and how there's no market for them. Hey, 79 Golden Eagles here. Good morning. And Stanley York says, more reason to live in the country. Absolutely. And Robert Reed says, it's absolutely beautiful morning. Yes, it is. I got some trees there that helped keep this area shaded extra long. When I moved here, they were only half as tall as they are, but now they're tall enough to screen the sun. So in the summertime, that shade is super valuable. When it's hot, I park my van. I'm sleeping in my van these days because it's warm. So I park it right over there, right next to the creek, and it stays shaded until 10 a.m. at least. And it's perfect time of the year as long as it's morning or evening when the sun's not shining. And then after that, because I'm a wuss when it comes to the heat, I try to hide out as much as I can. So, oh yeah, okay. All right. 4K. Yeah, that's amazing. It comes with age. Which comes with age, Brett? Hopefully wisdom, I know. But yeah, so see the sheep, they're all just hanging out there. The door is wide open. So I didn't even have to lead them in. I love it. The other day, let's see, I think it was 2 days ago now, they did go off the property. Oh, yeah. Brett says comes with age, waking up too early, and so far I'm generally sleeping pretty well still, but I have to get up at 3 a.m. and put the rooster in the car because he likes to sleep in the van. So I have to move him so his crowing doesn't wake me up. And then if this guy would stop barking at birds. But anyway, yeah, so 2 days ago the sheep went off the property, so that was a hassle. And then I shepherded them for about an hour to guide them this way and make sure they didn't go back. And that was fun because when I was a teenager, I read the stories about King David, who was a shepherd, and I loved that stuff. And I love the shepherd aspect of things because it feels like I'm connecting with the most ancient of cultures, because herding sheep was one of the first, as they transitioned from hunter-gatherers to sedentary. So anyway, it was fun, but anyway, I kept them off there and they haven't gone back. So I'm really hoping it works that the sheep stay on my property because I don't have fencing. I've got electric fencing. I'm really tempted to at least fence that border because my west border is kind of fenced. And when sheep don't want to leave, what? Oh, the birds. When the sheep don't want to leave, it's easy to fence them in. When they want to leave, then it's hard to fence them in. But that fence over there is adequate. And so if I fenced my southern border, then that would go a long way. I could do it for like 900 bucks. So I might do that, but we'll see. Because then it would take less care. And then with a guard dog here, I wouldn't have to be here as much. It'd be easier to get away. Oh, yeah, you too, Brett. Thanks for popping in. And happy Father's Day. Glad you got your dad around. That's been cool to see. And Craig Curtis. Oh, wait, let's go to Philip Stewart. Keep doing what you do. Enjoy. Thank you. I'm assuming that means you're gone, but yeah, life's good. Did I give up on the cellar dig? Yes, I did, because when I brought my horses back, my second horse, it's harder to keep my horses at my other property because they've got 800 acres to roam. They could roam more than that, but see these birds? But they roam on about 600 to 800 acres. I forget. Maybe it's only 300 or 400 acres. And so it's harder to keep them over there. With one horse, it wasn't so bad because she's alone and less apt to just go adventuring. But once you get another horse, well, then they get more brave. And also over there, I had to keep the halter on them all the time. Not at night when I would pin her up. Well, no, I would. It wasn't a very good pin. And that gets hard on them because it's okay for camp trips where it's just brief, but having to wear that day in and day out is hard on them. When I had my geldings out there, I could let them loose without halters on because I trusted them more. That lead gelding I wasn't concerned about. But these two mares, I got to get to know what they're gonna do, so I didn't want to take the halter off. So it's harder to keep the horses out there, and it's harder to go up to trips. Like right here, I can hit the road and get up the highway to go do a camp trip. Out there, I gotta drive to the road, then I gotta drive a long ways through town, which is why I like it, because it's so remote. But to go out on camp trips, it's kind of tough. So that's why I decided just to stay here and then add the two more horses that are new horses. Now it would just be really difficult to go out there because that's where I'm digging the cellar, is out at the other property. So that's what's up with that. I would like to have it, but my life is a little bit too tumultuous. Also, once it warms up, it's really hard to stay cool out there. But over here, I got this creek to sit by in the shade and to sleep next to it. And so once it's warm out, it's kind of hard to leave this property. Like, why would I want to be anywhere else? Like, from all my traveling, when it's hot out, all I think about is sitting by this creek. So, like when I'm sitting there, I don't even want to go on a camp trip because it's like, why in the world do I want to be anywhere else? However, when it's hot out, I actually would like to be up in the mountains because up there the water is crystal clear. It's colder. This water gets pretty warm, fairly warm relatively. And so that is the other spot that I would like to be. So we'll see. I might take one horse and go up to the mountains again soon when I get my truck going again. But yeah, I got a pretty good setup here. Yes, I am still thinking about selling it, but since I haven't got a buyer yet, and I had this new, oh, what do you call it? This new desire to be here, Like mostly this property is just a burden. I bought it because I had 8 horses and I didn't want to buy hay and feed them hay all the time. I think grazing is better. But like I've said, now I don't have 8 horses, and so I don't want the burden of this property. Just to run the irrigation it's about $3,000 a year just to have this property and run the irrigation. And I don't need it. I can make the other property work, and there's plenty of food out there for my horses, even through the summer. And so I don't really need it. But that being said, I had this new inspired desire to thought, well, you know, as long as I don't have a buyer, maybe I should just pretend like I'm keeping this property and just see where it takes me. I just don't see it working because, like I said, let's say I tried to raise animals to make money. I'd have to make $3,000 just to break even off of animals. And there's not a lot of money and not a lot of profit margin in animals, especially when you count the work. In my opinion, getting into small-time farming, I mean, unless you know something I don't know, but I've looked into cattle and stuff quite a bit, and you see videos telling people how to make thousands of dollars every month off of it, and most of them are bogus. There's probably some people that make some money. But with cows, like, it's commonly understood by people who've done the math. It takes a ton of math to figure it out. And I went over and over it in my own mind, and then I watched videos and listened to what other people said. And you basically got to have 100 cows before it becomes profitable. And of course, I guess there might be some exceptions. Like I know a guy, I don't think he's making any money, but his strategy was to do this AI, artificial insemination, with extremely expensive strains. So maybe if you get into that kind of thing, or you're doing this higher level that rich people want, then maybe there's different profit margins. But for the normal person just running Angus cows, my understanding, and you got to have like 100 acres or 100 cows. So once you have 100 cows, that means you got to have hay, because to make it with cattle, you got to grow your own hay. Because well, I guess you don't have to, but it makes a whole lot more sense. Because to feed 100 cows, well, I haven't done the math, but I don't know how many acres it would take. Maybe 10 acres. We get 3 or 4 cuttings a year here. I think 3 cuttings. So say I did 10 acres of hay and got 3 cuttings, that might feed 100 cows. I don't know. I got to do the math. And so you got to run your own hay. And then here, that would give me 35 acres, 30 acres roughly, I don't know, of pasture, irrigated pasture. But you can't keep them on that all year, because pretty soon, even though there's enough grass to keep them fed, if you're watering and managing it, the manure just adds up too fast. So that means you got to have grazing land. You got to lease. You got to get a lease, and that's a pretty big investment, because if it doesn't, you got to pay for the lease, which isn't a ton of money. That's from the government. I'm losing viewers on this. I shouldn't say that. Like I said, I have no idea. So you got to pay for a lease. I'm looking up there because that's the kind of land that you lease around here. It's just sagebrush with grass. There's actually a lot more grass up there than it looks like. So you pay for a lease, but then you got to pay. Usually, if you're getting into a lease, you buy the lease off of the previous rancher, and then so you got to pay for their improvements. Like, let's say they put $40,000 into fencing, and it's been 15 years, then I think you pay based off of the depreciation on the fencing. So to get into the leases, is thousands of dollars, but then to keep it, well, you got to put up refence it, not refence. You got to go through and fix the fence every year because the elk take it down, and then you got to pay the government. But that's only like, I think, $2,000 to keep it yearly, I think. And so anyway, if you get into cows, you basically got to be a life of operating your cow operation, which would be fun. If I had more time and more lives to live, I would love to do that. When I was a teenager, there's nothing I wanted more than to have a cattle operation. And then I could do tourist stuff. Then I could do my Old West Saloon, because the county allows agricultural tourism that's related to what you're doing. It would be fun, but the problem is the business end takes away from the fun. So I'd rather not do that and just ride my horses than to have all that to make a little bit of money. Anyway, I don't know if anybody's interested, but that's my view on getting into cattle, and from what I've learned. So I forget why I said that. Anyway, oh yeah. That's why, in my opinion, to do a small-time farm, in my opinion, the best thing is to just raise animals for your own food. Like, not trying to make money at it. I think it's just too much money, not enough profit margin. And that's intentional. It's not like I'm breaking away from hundreds of years of tradition, but the food industries, the big meat industries, they do that intentionally so that small-time farms can't exist. They've ruined the profit margin so that only big operations can exist. That's why so many people, I think it was in the 1980s when there was a big crash in the cattle industry, and normal people see economic crashes as a bad thing. People with a lot of money see them as a good thing. Like the one that most of us are old enough to remember is 2007, 2008, that crash. I actually made a ton of money off of that. Not because I had a lot of money, but I managed to. Because all us normies, I didn't own a house yet at that time, but people who did, or people who were trying to make money off the housing industry, and then it tanked, and a lot of people lost out. But the wealthy people didn't. I was a realtor at that time, and wealthy people were buying up. They were buying houses wholesale. So these banks were repossessing so many homes, they didn't want to deal with them. And what they would do was package like 100 properties. I forget the numbers. I think it was 100. And they'd sell it to investors for like $300,000, some ridiculously low price. But the catch was, if you were the investor, you didn't have time to go inspect them all. And there were some that were maybe fire damaged. So those would require like 30 grand to take it down, and then you just got a property. And but some of them would be in pretty decent shape, might need just a little bit of cosmetic repair, and you could turn around and sell it. Couldn't really sell it in that industry, but you could turn around and rent it right away and then sell it in a few years when the economy came back. And because I met people like that, this guy called and asked about some property that he owned and had never seen. And so I told him about it. And he in turn told me about what he was doing. I found out he bought maybe it was 500 homes. It was just insane. So anyway, people with money make money off of economic crashes. And that's what that video this morning that I mentioned earlier talked about, is how all of that stuff is a feature in our economy, that all these ups and downs of the economy, the fragile economy, is intentional. And I was able to see it because I was kind of mixed in that world of being a normal person, but interacting in the world of real estate. And my eyes were really open to a lot of things. But anyway, that's why they've tanked the market for small time farming, and so that small time farmers would sell out, and then the big time farmers can do basically the Walmart system, where you own so much and you sell so much that your overhead can be low, but you make it up in numbers. Same with Costco, except that they're not so cheap anymore. And McDonald's. I think McDonald's was the first to really implement it, where they did so much that they could keep prices low. And that's why it's hard to support local, because local people can't compete with these huge chains. And anyway, that's why the farming industry is so difficult for us small timers to get into. There is catches though. There is a way to make it really lucrative. If a person learns to and builds up their own meat packing shop, there's a lot of money in butchering. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you can slaughter and butcher, or even if you pay for the slaughter guy to come and put it down and gut it and skin it, and then you butcher it right there on your property, that's where you can really make money raising cows. And that's it's not a loophole, it's just a way to bring in a very lucrative, high profit margin aspect to the cattle industry. It's just that it's another skill you got to learn, and it takes a lot of time. But somebody like me who lives cheap and could live really well off of a couple $1,000 a month, that could work for a guy like me. But I don't know, at this point I just don't want to do it. Again, if I had more lives to live, or if I was 20 years younger, but life just didn't work out that way for me. And they say all things work out for good. Here we go, been a while. Dead Wolf Resistance. What do you mean? You haven't been on here for a while? Because of my technical difficulties? I assume that's what you're referring to. So long, Philip. Missed your comment, or I would have addressed it earlier. Still thinking of selling place. Yeah, okay, that's what sent us on. Stanley Lurch says, I've seen horses get their hind foot caught in the halter. Yes, that is an issue. He's referring to out at my other place, leaving my horses with the halter on. And yeah, that's a problem too. That's another reason I like having them here, where they're not that far off and they don't have to wear halters. So that's why I'm not out at my other property right now. There is another system I can do out there where I've got a pen set up to where I've done this before with different horses, with a different two. I leave one in the pen and I let one loose, and then I bring the other one in with grain and don't make it wear a halter. But I don't like that, because the horses like being together. I like keeping them together. It's good for their psychological health. I mean, I don't mind doing it temporarily, but for ongoing, it's not a great solution, but it is a solution because they can hang out a little bit. But anyway, that's just what I'm dealing with on it. Tracy Freeman, good morning from Iowa. Awesome. Have good memories of Iowa. Can't milk the Jersey cow. So it's got this bum front leg where it limps all the time. It doesn't seem to be in pain, but she can't really support herself really well. So the owner, she's not my cow, but the owner isn't sure if she would be able to take a bull getting her pregnant, because to milk her, she's never been pregnant. She's a heifer. And so I suggested, well, what about artificial insemination? But then there's also the question as to whether the cow can carry the baby with that bad leg. but I think that would be easier than it getting mounted by a bull. So that's the dilemma with it. But fortunately, while I'm here, the thing can just eat for free and doesn't need to produce anything. I don't want to milk it because then all of a sudden I've got a chore that's necessary twice a day. I'd rather it just mooch off of me for my field. But it would be cool to get some Jersey milk every day. All right, Craig Curtis is bringing up. Oh, okay, Dead Wolf Resistance. Yep, cool. Yeah, glad it's working. Having to be earlier and sitting out here, I guess, does the trick. I don't mind it being earlier, but I had moved to 8:30 originally because it was when I seemed to get the most viewers. The most people were awake and available. But then I also moved it to Sunday recently, so. Craig Curtis says, your Western movie, does it have gun shooting? If so, will you use blanks or live rounds? Yeah, so my Western, when I wrote it because I was going to use my own money to make it. And so I wrote it the way that I thought, what's the cheapest way to make a movie? I've said this before. So I minimized the characters. There's only 4 characters in it. And it's all outdoors, so I didn't have to use a town or any buildings, which is really difficult to get looking old. And I didn't, there's only one gunshot in the whole thing. And so it could be a live round or a blank. Or, yeah, we probably, I mean, technically you can shoot it with camera angles. When the rifle goes off, it could be a side shot of the shooter and just show him jerking and use, just add sound. So that's the fun thing about doing low budget is you get creative that way. It's inspiring to watch Robert Rodriguez talk about his movies. The guy that did Desperado. Oh, and he also did Spy Kids, but I liked him for Desperado. And he talks about how he does scenes, and there's a lot of creative ways to cut down. So I don't even need to use a round in the rifle, depending on how we shoot it. But that's what I did. I only did 1 gunshot so that I didn't have to have expensive special effects or whatever it would be. I don't know what that would be termed. Like the guy getting shot, that would be, I'd like to do that stuff, but not in my first film. And it's a pretty lighthearted, it's an anti-Western, it's an anti-Hollywood Western, meaning that people in it, there's 2 of the characters are manly men. One of them is a tough guy. The other one's just a manly guy. But it's not the quintessential Western where everybody walks around eyeballing each other, acting like they're all on the brink of pulling their guns. And so it's an anti-Hollywood Western in that sense. But I'm going to add in a lot of Western, true historical aspects. And that would be more in future episodes, because I wrote this episode. This is supposed to be episode 1. I wrote it right when I was on the verge of learning a lot about the Old West. And so if I wrote it now, it would probably be more historical, but it's an entertaining story, so I'm sticking with it. And then in future episodes, we're going to add a lot more historical stuff. And a lot of subtle historical stuff. That's what I really want to convey. Like a friend and I were talking about how in a future episode, maybe in this episode, I'm going to have a guy with his sleeves rolled up, and then when he gets near the woman, there's a woman in the story, and when he gets near her, he stops and we'll show him rolling down his sleeves and buttoning them up. Because that's something of the time. My belief of the time was that people did roll their sleeves up, guys did out on the frontier, but then if they'd go into town or if a woman was present, then they'd get more formal. because that was the etiquette of the day. Put on their coat. And that loosened up as the decades rolled on. Somebody posted a picture today, late 80s. It was 1887 of the Texas Rangers. And there's about 8 or 9 guys in there, and 4 of them had their sleeves rolled up. And granted, it was also an outdoor photo of them in their camp. So I guess probably the photographer wanted it to be somewhat candid. Not totally, but it looked like he wanted it kind of to be candid. But I think when you get in the older photos, I have seen pictures of guys with sleeves rolled up, but more when they were in a working function. It seems like anytime that you had people together for a photo, they were all sleeves down and buttoned up properly. So that's my take on it. I haven't looked at as many pictures as a lot of people have. Yeah, I could use, so Dead Wolf Resistance says, and asking about the live ammo. In this one shot that I'm using, I could use live ammo because there's nobody on the other end. It's supposed to be like a 400 or 500 yard, 500 or 600 yard shot. So I could use live ammo. The film location I got is on a hunting property, but I don't know. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. It would probably be easier. I don't even know yet which rifle I'm using. So that's something I gotta nail down. The shotgun and revolver aren't that difficult. The revolver, I'm just gonna use my own, but I need a long-barreled revolver. Anyone here know Tuco the Rat? He would work out great in your movie. You should go visit him. Yeah, well, my movie is written and edited and ready to go. So I don't think I could add anything into it at this point. I don't think I want to add anything into it at this point. Hopefully you all are surprised. People will enjoy the script when they read it, and it's probably going to be a lot different than anyone expects. And I'm hoping that it has good rewatchability, where the layers get unfolded the more you watch it, because there's going to be quite a bit of subtlety to it, I think, if I've written it as well as I think I have, and then see how it comes out. I think I'm going to try to hire this guy who's a really good videographer out of Los Angeles. So he's worked, he's in the scene there, very knowledgeable, great perspective on it. And so if I can raise the money, then I want to hire that guy. And so it should be really good quality. And I think I got good actors. So it shouldn't, I want to skip past that first film problem that most people have, where it's like obvious problem that shouldn't have happened, which is primarily audio. And then after audio, it's the video. Well, there's a lot to it, but I'm excited for it. So, my rooster, he looks like he's stuck now. He went in the... Hey, I got my... Oh, sorry, boy. This bucket's noisy. All right, I got my audio lapel, my microphone, so I should be able to walk away and you guys can hear me. I'm gonna go get the rooster out of the pen. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm gonna leave this guy in the pen. When the sheep come back in the pen, I put him back in, because somebody took off with him the other day. They grabbed him, put him in their car, and drove off. Come here, goofball. Look at this silly rooster. He's stuck in the corner trying to get out of here. All right, quit barking at birds. He immediately starts barking when he comes in here. This rooster hates being carried. I think it's emasculating for him. Is that right? But he likes standing on me. Okay, were you guys able to hear me the whole time? I'm assuming you could. Can I name the town nearest to the film location? Oh yeah, it's going to be near Llano. I think is how you say that, Llano. So I think that's like an hour and a half out of Austin. Oh, good. Thanks, Section 8. Yeah, I love these microphones. Cool, thank you. The rooster's sitting there. Every time I hold him, it affects him. It's like he wants to hang out with me. It's hilarious. But anyway, yeah, we're going to be filming in Llano, and the place is beautiful, and it's got cactus. I had imagined filming here because I have locations where I wanted it to be filmed here, but I'm happy that I'm filming it in Texas. And also I've had to alter the story because I wrote it originally, like I said, I was learning about the history at the time, so I wrote it about the Oregon Trail, but I wanted the main character to be a cowboy. And that is doable in the early 60s, which is what I settled on. But the cowboy wasn't established in the early 60s. Like, there were cowboys, we had them right here. As early as the late 50s, they were driving cattle, like big herds of cattle, 800 miles up into Canada. So we actually started the long trail drives before Texas. That's a good way to piss off some Texans. Tell them that. But what we didn't do was create the quintessential cowboy. That came out of Texas. Because, white people interacting with the Spaniards who started the vaquero, and then the white people, just like Taco Bell, took from Mexico and adapted our own thing, and we created the cowboy. The Texas cowboy was the cowboy of the time, and but even in the 60s, that hadn't really come together. In the 70s, it really started to take shape, where, in other words, where if you saw these guys in town mixed in, you could pick out a cowboy by looking at them. In the 60s, I would say that was a lot less common. I'm just giving a general take on this and where I'm at with it right now. But in the 70s, it started to take shape, and by the 80s, it was clear. Like, cowboys were very identifiable by the 80s, definitely. And big part of that was they wore nice shirts, expensive shirts, and expensive boots. They'd be carrying a quirt with them. That's a small little strap used to slap your horse, get it going. A wide-brimmed hat. Might be wearing a vest, might not be wearing a vest. A revolver, a bandana, that kind of stuff. That and then on their horse they'd have a lariat, of course. And so by the 80s, it was really established. So I wrote this story wanting it to be off the Oregon Trail with a cowboy, but the late 60s works for the Oregon Trail, even though it was the tail end of it. And 60s works for a cowboy, but not for that quintessential cowboy look. So by filming it in Texas, I've altered the story to where it's late 70s, and it's people traveling on the Santa Fe Trail to New Mexico, and the cowboy then wanders and lives in Texas and New Mexico. And then I can do that quintessential look. So I'm gonna have a quirt, and he's gonna be more of that typical cowboy that was established by then. So that's actually a positive change. As much as I liked the story here, it works better that I'm filming it down there. And the location I've got has some good rugged ground. That's how it's supposed to look, really rugged with cactus and sparseness. But there's some beautiful scenery. So it should be, if it works out, it should be really impressive in a lot of ways. But we'll see. So we don't have Daryl Isley with us. Where's that guy? Yeah, it's a bummer with switching it over to Sundays. Some people just can't make it. And I haven't seen Justin Sheldon, but he's probably on his schedule's all messed up. So I guess I might as well call it quits. The sun's up, but it's not too hot yet. Man, last week I'd be sitting in the creek by now. Yeah, thank you, Stanley. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of work, but the dog's barking at something. Yeah, somebody came and picked him up. He wandered down by the road and they put him in his car and ran off. Oh, good question. Estimated run time is about 40 minutes. Estimated by me was 30 minutes, but that guy, the Hollywood guy who is a filmographer, he read the script and he liked it. He said it was a good script. It's the first script I've ever written, so that means a lot. But he said he would estimate it at 40 because it's dialogue heavy. So they say roughly in a script it's 1 minute per page, but because mine's dialogue heavy, he said a good chance that it'll be longer. Craig, you'll find out all about that. So I'm going to run a crowdfunding thing for it in September. So that's going to run from September to October to try to raise funds, but not to beg. If any of you guys are living paycheck to paycheck, I don't want anyone to feel obligated. That's not what I'm about. I used to make money, and because of that, I tried to give generously, but because I had money. Back when I worked paycheck to paycheck, and it was only insulting when all these people who lived better lives than me were begging for money. So anyway, I just want to be clear on that. But I'm doing a crowdfunding thing, and then shooting in November, and then editing and hoping to have it out by the end of January or early February. I'm not going to release it at the same time as the Super Bowl. So if I can't get it out by late January, then I'll wait until after the Super Bowl and put it out. And then I'm hoping that people enjoy it and want to see more, because I've got more stories for those characters. And then if I can then raise the money after that for hopefully to make a few more episodes in one go rather than just one episode a year. So that's why they're like 40 minutes. The Sagebrush Chronicles is what I'm calling it. I started calling it A Vast and Open Land, but for now that's what it's called. Oh yeah, and then so to watch it, I'm doing a YouTube. Sorry, got a big old 2 ticks. I just pulled 2 ticks. So to watch it, I'm doing just a YouTube release. Because as you guys know, I don't like how art gets caught up with being all about money. And so I just want to my goal was to create a historically true Western movie, short film, episode, that I just released straight to the people for the sake of making good art and entertainment rather than for the sake of making money and getting awards. I don't want to do the, because like I've said before, normally people will go the film festival route where you expect your film to be the next Pulp Fiction, so you don't show it to anybody because that's one of the rules of the film festivals, and you release it to the film festival, and then you hope to get an award, and then you hope to get a bunch of big money people interested in you, and then you go the Hollywood route. And I think this is a post-Hollywood era for filmmaking. A good example of that is the show Letterkenny, if you're familiar with that. It's a hilarious show, even though I think they go too far into raunchy jokes, which are kind of cheap jokes sometimes. But the show overall is amazing. Great characters, great dialogue, great jokes. And the guy who made it, he went to Hollywood. He had a little bit of success, I think, commercial and then in a show or something like that, but he hated it. He hated Hollywood. He went back to Canada and started doing these YouTube short films. If you've ever seen it, my favorite one where I found out about him was a clip from an episode where they're standing around a barbecue and they're talking about how to correctly cook the steak, and one of the guys is just S&P. I love that little skit. And so he became pretty well known for his show, because then those short clips with his buddies turned into a show where he took those characters and made it into a show. So that was part of what inspired me. I started realizing we don't have to go through Hollywood. We can make short films ourselves, and if people like them, because we have YouTube these days, then we can find success. Success to me is creating something that people really enjoy and want to see more of, and that they are willing to fund through crowdfunding. So, and skip all the dumb marketing, because marketing is for stuff that people don't want. Not all the time, but when you're trying to push garbage on people, then it takes brilliant marketing so that to trick them into going to a theater to spend $12 on popcorn. Whereas if you genuinely create something that people want to see more of, then they fund it. Anyway, I'm giving the really concise, marketing obviously is important because you need to convey it to where people want to see it, but it can be manipulative also. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from. Dead Wolf Resistance. Oh, you mean, do you do that in the industry somewhere? So anyway, that answers the question. Yep, I'm just hang out with a few friends and make it to 1,000 subs. Cool. What do you do on your channel? If I've looked it up, I don't even remember. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm gonna sign off because I got the low battery warning on my phone. So glad this worked. Man, what a relief that the live videos are working again. It was so frustrating there for a few weeks where I kept losing them. So thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm gonna give a little bit of time to see if you guys reply to those questions I just gave you. Hope you enjoy your Father's Day. For those of you who are fathers, happy Father's Day. I thought the other day, so I got all these animals dependent on me, and I walk around all the time thinking how disappointed they are in me, because it seems like they always want more, you know. Like, I can't pet my dogs enough, can't feed the animals good enough. So anyway, I got to thinking, is that what being a father is like? just the constant knowledge that everybody wants more from you. I imagine it is, but I don't think there's anything more rewarding or more admirable than a good dad. And I guess right up there would be a good mom too. So to everybody, thanks to all the good women that help men be good fathers, and thanks to all the fathers that are taking good care of their families. And on that note, I'll end. So everybody, hope you have good memories of your dad today. All right, remember, life's a lot more fun over on the wild side.